Oh my gosh, the bull run is over. Well, that's what I've been hearing from a lot of the people commenting on my videos the last couple of days. And what they're talking about is, guys, we have seen a pretty significant pullback in silver. And you can see that right here on this chart. If you look at last Thursday, October 16th, we had a close of 54.24. And I believe intraday, it actually got a little bit higher than that. Now, fast forward to today. It is Tuesday, October 21st, around 8 a.m. as I'm recording this video. And we are now down to 49.77, and this is even down around 20 cents from when I decided to start recording this video. And based on some of the comments I've seen from my channel, one from this morning and a couple from the other day when it took its first drop on Friday, this is the end of it. But in reality, this really isn't bad. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. It's actually kind of a good thing, because if we zoom out and take a look at this chart on a 3-month scale, and I know we've often talked about May 31st or May 30th and how when silver closed on May 30th, it was $32.99. And so it's increased well over 50% since that point, well over 50%. But if you even just go back and look at July, we had July 31st, a close of 36.71. Again, October 16th, we were 54.24. Guys, that is an $18 increase in just 3 months, not even 3 months at this point. So this little drop right here is very expected, and it's actually really healthy for silver. And the reason is that let's say this, when I was in school, I was taught that what goes up must come down, right? And if something goes really, really high, it's got to come down really, really far. And that's not to say that silver's going to go back to $20 an ounce where it was. And keep in mind, when I say that, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but with the current market the way it is, with the economy, with the increased demand for silver, and then you consider the fact that we've been running on silver deficits for years, and I say that knowing that obviously there's plenty of silver out there for me and you to stack. There's plenty of silver above ground right now, but at the same time, there is more being consumed than is being produced, and when you continue to produce something less than it's being consumed, eventually you run into shortages. So whether that shortage, is 20 years out or 5 years or 40, I don't have a clue. It just depends on how much we are actually producing and how much we are using, between then and now. But I will tell you that if we get to a point where we have to mine silver directly, now keep in mind that most of the silver, right, is mined as a byproduct of other metals. But if we ever have to specifically go out and mine silver directly, there's no way it could be $20 an ounce. It just costs too much to mine it. And then you also consider the fact that while most silver is recyclable, it costs a lot to recycle it as well. So if we continue to run on deficits, silver has to go up. So I don't think personally, I said all that to say, I don't think personally that silver could really sustain $25 an ounce again with the way the economy is, with the way that the increased demand for silver is. I mean, we're talking EVs, we're talking a lot of green energy initiatives, all that use a significant amount of silver, right? I don't think that even $25 an ounce sustained is feasible, but could it drop back to that point? I'm sure that it absolutely could, because that's how manipulated markets work. But anyway, getting back onto my analogy is I was taught that what goes up must come down. And in the case of silver, it has went up a lot. If you think about that July number that I just showed you on SD Bullion's website to what it closed at 54.24 the other day, that's a 47.8% gain in 2.5 months. That's huge. That is a huge gain in any market. So corrections like this are absolutely needed. We need to find where the new floor is for silver, where people are comfortable with silver being like, you know what, I would never sell my silver for less than $45 an ounce. And once we find that new floor and silver, starts to look very stable in that, in that little spot of 45, 46, 47, whatever it is. Again, I'm not predicting, but whenever it finds that very stable floor, that very solid floor, that's when we can start to look at, all right, what is this next run-up going to be, and where is the floor going to be after that? Now, I do have a lot more I want to say on this topic, but really quick, I also want to shout out my channel sponsor, SD Bullion. And guys, if you're looking to take advantage of this dip, their Docs Deals page always has great deals on silver and gold that you can find by going to sdbullion.com/deals. And a huge thank you to SD Bullion for sponsoring my channel. Okay, so here's the thing, and I kind of talked about this in the first part of the video, but corrections like this are not only normal, guys, but they are essential. Think about it. If silver just went up straight up every single day, it wouldn't even be a real market. It'd just be a mania. People would be going crazy. And, I think healthy markets, they need to breathe in and out. They need to go up. They need to go down. And right now, silver's just kind of catching its breath. And when we see big moves like this, and this is what I'm talking about when I was, bringing up the comments that I've seen. I'm not going to post any of them here, but emotions take over. People start panicking on days where it's going down. They start celebrating on days where it's spiking. And I see this a lot on Reddit as well, on the Wall Street Silver. And in between that, the smart money people, the people that are stacking silver for fundamental reasons that I've talked about so often on this channel, we just keep accumulating. And that's exactly what's happening right now. In fact, I am personally taking advantage of this dip, and I'm going to buy a little bit. But you have to remember that while retail stackers will focus on the daily spot chart, the institutions, the refiners, and the industrial users, the people that are buying on the COMEX, they're looking at the bigger picture. They're not scared of a $4 dip. They're looking at 10 years, 10 years in the future. They're looking at supply forecasts like we had talked about. They're looking at energy cost and how much silver is used in green energy and the growing demand for things like I had said earlier, like EVs. We've talked about it on this channel before about, these solid state batteries. Think about it. Solid state batteries, supposedly use around 1 gram per cell, and a typical EV battery has 1,000 cells per battery. So that's 1,000 grams. That is a kilogram. And there are so many other applications that are taking advantage of silver right now, just with green energy, so on and so forth, that there is no choice but, like I'd said, for silver to continue to be stronger than it was just 5-10 years ago. And think about this as well. What about coin dealers and bullion dealers and wholesalers? When silver spikes, there's we've done this on the channel. We have called coin shops, and we have found out very recently. I did a video very recently, and I'm very proud of this, so I'm just going to share it here. One of my videos got shared in a Coin Week article, which I thought was great. I think that's the first time one of my videos has ever been shared on a Coin Week article. So if they're listening to this, thank you. That's pretty awesome. But anyway, we just talked about a video last week where I had called coin shops around, and I found coin shops were paying for 90% specifically. They were paying upwards of $10 an ounce back of spot. So dealers freak out when it zooms up like this as well. The dealers don't know when it's going to go up, and it's going to go up, and they don't know when it's going to take that correction like it has. And here's a really good example. So Mike from Mid-America Coins, we've had on the channel many times, he just over the weekend had bought a whole lot of stuff from a coin show. He did 2 videos on it, and he had like $2,000 in face of 90% silver that he had just bought. Now, I don't know what he paid for it, but I would assume that he gave himself a little bit of room for things like this to happen because silver has went up so much that he wanted to protect himself in the case of things like this, what is happening right now with silver dipping back under $50 an ounce. And so when silver is going up and going up and going up, and it's not stopping, right? When it's going up and it's just not stopping, dealers, they start to protect themselves. So they start paying less for rounds. They start paying less for 90%. They start paying less for silver eagles. And while you still at the end of the day are going to get more for your silver eagles than you did back when it was 2025, it still doesn't feel good, right? And I think a lot of people aren't even willing to sell their silver. If you think about this, a lot of people aren't even willing to walk into a shop and take $3 an ounce less than spot price for their rounds, or $10 an ounce less than spot price for the 90%. So, the dealers they pull back on their buy prices because it's going up and it's not going down. No one knows where the floor is. No one knows where the next drop's going to be. And you see markets like what we've had here. So that's what makes this dip so unimportant, but also important at the same time, because in the grand scheme of things, it needs to happen. The world's problems don't just get solved because silver dropped a few bucks. The debt didn't go away. Inflation didn't go away. Industrial demand doesn't vanish. All that's changed is a few traders took profits, algorithms triggered some stop losses, and retail investors got spooked. That's it. And honestly, these emotional swings are what give stackers like us an opportunity. I've seen this play out time and time again. Silver shoots up, weekends start dumping, premiums soften, the patient buyers scoop it up, and then a few weeks later, it bounces back up, and those same people wish they hadn't sold. It's a cycle as old as the market itself. So if you understand what I'm talking about, here's what I want. I want you guys to leave a comment down below and let me know if you understand what I'm saying here, because it makes sense to me, but I understand it may not make sense to anybody. So if I was a little bit over your head, or if I was confusing, if you want me to clarify something, I'll try and read as many of the comments as I can and respond. But I would bet money that the majority of you know exactly what I'm saying and probably even agree. So let me know with a comment down below if you do understand and you agree as well. But to summarize what I'm saying here, and then we'll get off of this, guys, is when I see silver dip like this, I don't panic. I don't celebrate. I definitely don't just go out and sell. I look at it as a brief moment of sanity in a market that's been exploding. And if you believe in fundamentals and real money, real scarcity, real demand, and I want to emphasize real money because that's what silver is, then short-term pullbacks like this are just noise. And here's the perspective that really drives it home for me. Even after this massive drop, silver is still up nearly 50% since mid-summer. If that's what a crash looks like, I will take it. So no, this recent dip doesn't phase me out a bit. If anything, it makes me more confident that we're in the early stages of what could be a real bull market. And like I said earlier, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know this for sure, but I feel confident with this market right now for my own stacking. Please do not make your financial decisions off of this video. I'm just the other guy on the end of a microphone, and I may not know what the heck I'm talking about at all. So please, again, work with your financial advisor or whatever it may be. Do not take advice just from me. This is just my opinion. So guys, if you like this video, please do me a favor. I've said this many times, but I would really appreciate it if you guys became a subscriber. It helps the channel out so much, and it really means a lot to me. Also, hit that thumbs up and let YouTube know that they should recommend this video to others. And other than that, guys, just, stack long, stack heavy, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.